All right, everybody, welcome to the Groundsmen. Studios, man. That top order just demolished me. So normally what that structure looks like is that and honestly, that's part of why the Groundsmen are here as well, so that you don't have to wait for Coke Week in order to see who's who and what's what. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Groundsman. We're on episode 11. We talk everything that has to do with school cricket, what the boys are doing, how they're doing it. As usual, I've got my co-host T. T, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Like you say, episode 11. We're a platform now. We're a fully fledged platform.
Yeah, man. We got some guys listening to us from Mozambique, Australia. We've got some guys in Pakistan. So we're building a little community here, man. These boys can get some exposure.
Yeah, man. It's definitely interesting to see that it's not just South Africans that are interested in high school cricket, but there are people around the world that understand that's the foundation of cricket, and that they're interested in finding out what development is looking like in the game.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I think Cricket South Africa better wake up quickly, because if guys are tuning into our show like this, that means they're definitely interested in up and coming talent. And they're ready to snatch it up as it comes up.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. So, and talking about school cricket, we had some fantastic games this past weekend. We had Sacs first team versus Bishops. We also had K.E.S first team versus St Stithians. And we had Wynberg boys versus Rondebosch. So interesting matchups there. Some big clashes, big boys coming in, locking horns, man.
What is that? 4 guys out of the top 10?
Yeah. Some very big clashes, man. Very big clashes.
And
before we jump in, come again?
It sounds like my picks were playing today. It sounds like St Stithians. I'm keen to hear how St Stithians did against K.E.S.
Yeah. K.E.S was my pick for number one.
It's okay. We all make mistakes.
Well, we'll find out about that. Before we jump into that, let's talk a little bit about T20 World Cup. India coming knocked out of that, didn't make it through to the knockout stages.
Big news.
Yeah, that's big, man. And in typical India style, Virat Kohli out as a T20 captain, Rohit Sharma coming in. What's your take on that, man?
I think that's a bit too rash, eh? I think India tends to be a bit too hard on whenever they don't do well at World Cups. And we get it. That's how you push guys to go and win a World Cup. But I think it's a bit harsh to drop Kohli.
Yeah. It seems like it's not just his hit that rolled, right? Ravi Shastri is also out. We got Rahul Dravid coming in now as the coach.
Yeah, that was a big one as well. Well, I like Dravid, though. I like Dravid. I think changing coach is more understandable than changing captain. Changing captains tends to destabilize the synergy within the team.
Yeah.
Which is held closely by the captain as opposed to the coach who looks over, who is more into the overview of the team.
Yeah.
Whereas the captain is really about the dynamics of the team, how guys relate to each other. And so to remove that guy, you fundamentally asking the new guy to create a new culture. And I don't think that Indian cricket has been bad enough to want to change the culture in terms of the sense of leadership. Because now you're not dropping a captain, that guy's still there.
Yeah.
That's where that awkwardness comes from, is that the captain, the guy that used to lead us, is still playing, but now he can't say, he can't give the team talks anymore.
Yeah.
And then you get to listen. Exactly. And then you get to 50 over games and this guy's now captain again. I've never understood how when we started choosing different captains for different formats, but still keeping those players, like you're still good enough to play, but you're not good enough to captain a T20. You're good enough to captain our 50 over game and play, but you're not good enough to captain the T20, but you can still play in it. I don't understand I've never understood that logic.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think Kohli, they telegraphed the Kohli one because they mentioned it at the beginning. I suspect that Kohli is the one that stepped down rather than was let go. And then almost to
Mm.
sort of focus on the 50 over and the test game because he's not even in the squad that's going to face New Zealand coming up. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I think that was more the direction there. Maybe they saw an opportunity to bring Dravid in, change the culture, because he's a different kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
So I think that might have been but it is weird, man. I always found that odd as well to say, because Kohli is an exceptionally good T20 player, right? Like he's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Um, if they're struggling, do you just not call him up? You know what I mean? Like it's like leaving your um it's like leaving your shotgun in your boot while you're getting raided by by the Walking Dead, the zombie apocalypse kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's a bit
He's
strange,
your
but
best weapon.
yeah, yeah,
Whether they like it or not, he's the best weapon. So
mm,
you really have to be able to justify why you left that shotgun in the boot.
definitely, dude, definitely. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting topic. Wanted to get your thoughts on it. The it's I've seen some mixed reviews from the Indian cricket lovers out there, um, that obviously love Indian cricket, and some guys are happy, some guys are not. There were some guys who wanted Rahul to take over, but I think the selectors had Rohit Sharma sort of pegged from a while back already, because when Kohli wasn't around, Rohit would lead the team anyway. So
Mm.
yeah, sort of a bit of a mixed bag in terms of reviews from the Indian public. You can tell me what was your take on South Africa coming home? They won the last few games, beat England in their last game. But what was your take on sort of the overall performance?
Mm. I just think that it was a lot of the same stuff
Mm,
in terms of it. I don't think there's a South African that's disappointed or surprised.
yeah, yeah.
You know
If
what I
we're
mean?
honest,
Like,
if you're not trying to show face and be in the public
yeah,
eye to be all, Protea fire.
exactly. And that's why you're not seeing an outrage in media. It's like, we kind of saw it coming because South Africa, we always we found ourselves in a position where we always need somebody to do something for us to go forward.
Yeah,
So we were sitting hoping that the West Indies could beat Australia and then we could, you know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
never just we're outplaying everybody. And even
yeah,
if we do, I think this T20 format, how the pool system works, it's making it 100 times harder because now we don't even get to show face by making it out the group stages anymore.
yeah, yeah. You go straight to semis and then finals.
Yeah.
Mm,
So you really have to be on top of your game. And I think that it was nothing new. There was the leadership. We saw the issues. And like we said previously, that Russie type leadership was
mm,
not present.
yeah,
And so we wanted to replicate what we saw with the Springboks, that, oh, there's controversy, but they're going to pull out. But
yeah,
this isn't the team. This isn't the team. This isn't the boys. These aren't the coaches. These aren't the management teams that are going to get us a World Cup.
yeah,
I think that South Africa went from, and this is what I don't understand, right?
mm,
We we had a crop of players that were really good, and they failed to ever win a World Cup. And then we take those crop of players to lead the next crop of players to the World Cup,
yeah, yeah.
and we expect that these guys that are now leading these guys will know how to win a World Cup. Of course not.
They
And so
don't.
they still look like the team with Boucher when he was playing,
Yeah, yeah,
because Boucher doesn't know how to win a World Cup. He's never won it before.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And in all honesty, it looks like he just froze. He was like a deer caught in headlights, if you ask me. The way he retreated and didn't come out during the controversy around Quinny, the way he didn't come out to back up Temba, the way he didn't make any statements, or, to unify the message coming out of the camp. For me, it was like a complete deer caught in headlights. He was probably, I think, way out of his depth. And I think, like, I read an article a few months back that basically was saying, I think the Boucher experiment has failed and we need to let it go.
Yeah, because I mean, let's be frank, man. This guy wasn't even. We didn't see him as a leader when he played. What made people think that this guy was now a leader? Boucher was never a captain. Boucher was never tasked to lead a team anywhere. What made us think like it's clear favoritism? It's literally Smith picked a mate, an unqualified mate. This is the stuff we complain about with BE.
Yeah.
We're picking your friends. But at the end of the day, there's nothing on Boucher's resume that says he's qualified to captain a national team. Playing for the team doesn't qualify you to be able to coach the team. And they'll tell you that if you told them that you want Makaya to come and be coach.
Hell, at least Makaya has coached the national side.
Ow. Like, there's so many guys, dude, and I don't understand why South Africans don't learn from guys like India. India went and like grabbed Gary Kirsten, my guy.
Yeah. And
why not go out there? Exactly. Why not go out there, right? Even if it's not South African, why not go out there and find a coach who's won a World Cup? If we're trying to win a World Cup, why not find a coach who's won it before?
Yeah. Bring him in and let's go.
Yeah. Why are we just recycling old players? We're just trying to keep guys' balance sheets going because the money didn't run out.
Yeah. Controversy. Oh, that's vicious. That's vicious.
I'm just saying, guys were getting hungry. You can see that the old recruits are all the guys that the money didn't ran out. Boucher was struggling. Smithy was struggling. They even tried to bring Colors in to try to give Colors a bag as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's just guys trying to give each other the bag, bro. Because those days are over.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me stay out of the controversy.
Yeah, let's get out the weeds. Let's get out the weeds, because Proteas is literally the weeds. Like, once you get in there, it just gets so difficult to come out, dude. I had a chat with a mate of mine, and we were speaking about school cricket and essentially moving up to the next level. And basically, the conversation was centered around why why are we seeing such poor performances in the CSA T20, right? So many drop catches, not really not great in terms of the standard of cricket. And an interesting point that he made was that you have to understand that a lot of these franchise spots are already bought and paid for, mate. From the time these kids are in high school, depending on the coach. So what happens is that sometimes the coaches get appointed according to how close a proximity they are to the unions, right? And if your coach in the school there is close to the union, you would find that a lot of the kids that come out of there get an opportunity to play at the academy for that union, and then eventually get called up, and then a lot of them then sort of get an opportunity to run through the system. That's why then we see the same guys sort of going from Titans to Lions to Province to KZN to Carl,
and never getting dropped.
Yes, and never getting dropped despite poor performances. You know what I mean? So it's stuff like that where he was like, dude, there's you have to understand that if the two ways that you get an opportunity to play at a high level. One is if you join an academy, a private academy that's really close to the unions, and the guy's been in the system a long time. The second thing is if you go to a prominent school that the coach is also sort of close to the unions, and you'll get an opportunity there, and he'll put in a good word for you. Outside of that, it's literally pure luck, right time, right place. Most of those slots have been sort of bought and paid for a long time. And if you listen to the numbers around how much as a parent you spend on academies and these schools, some of these schools are like 180,000 Rand a year, right? And we were talking about how do you, if you take your kid to, let's say, a less expensive school, but less prominent in sort of the professional cricket space, and in sort of those quote unquote Ivy League kind of schools that play each other and get an opportunity to trial. What are you doing, right? Essentially, then you have to supplement that by taking him to an expensive academy that has facilities and proximity and all of that, which will most likely, I mean, through the lifespan of a kid playing cricket from grade 1 to matric, you're going to spend, quote unquote, probably just under R1 million, right? Taking that kid to those schools, buying him kit, taking him on tour, all of these things. It's part of why sort of the rumors around why Klaasen keeps getting an opportunity is that his parents spend so much money trying to get him to the top that it has to pay off, right? Or else no one else goes to that academy. No one else would want to go through that process if none of those kids that pay that kind of money get an opportunity to play for Proteas or even at a high level first class cricket. So that was interesting. I thought I was like, hang on, that's exactly the fight we're trying to fight here, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what we've pointed out already. He's just put it in a way that people can understand perhaps why there's a gatekeeper. But that's the gatekeeper philosophy, right? I think he's just given insight into why exactly you end up having a gatekeeper and how that comes about. But that's exactly what we've been talking about the Groundsmen, is that you shouldn't have to pay to play for the national team.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to pay to play for things that the public is paying for without taxes, but you get to buy your way into that system.
Yeah.
Like these aren't private guys that are doing their own thing, right? They're funded by the government. We as taxpayers are paying for that. Yeah. So why is it that only the elite and those that can afford to play get to for lack of a better word, get to expunge our resources as a nation just because you've got money? You basically get to eat taxpayers' money and get opportunities from taxpayers because you've got money.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was talking to I was talking to my wife the other day, and I was just going off on a tangent, right, about how the selection in the game happened when we were kids, right? And I actually didn't realize that there was a bottleneck there from when the coaches are notified. So if you remember back in the day, the union would send a message out to the coaches and say, "Hey, coach, there are trials happening at Rustenburg High. Please bring 4 of your best players to come through for trials." They'll give them a number that the guys have to come through, right? Then the coach would say, "Okay, you." He'd sort of call you over to his class and say, "You guys have been selected for trials at Rustenburg High. Be there on Thursday at 2:30." kind of thing. And then we all show up and we practice and we trial, right?
Yeah.
And then essentially that's how the district team got chosen. That's then essentially going to go to trials as a team. Let's say in Poch to trial for like 3 days, and then they pick the Northwest squad that's going to go to Coke Week or Momentum Week or whatever, and under 50, right?
Yeah.
And then I realized to myself, hang on, a lot of the kids that may be getting left out is that maybe they're not close enough to their coaches, right? So think about it. If you're in a decent enough school that plays cricket at a relatively high level, and there are 6 players that are genuinely good, genuinely really good. The guy's given 4 slots, right? Who does he pick? He picks the 4 kids whose parents are always there. His parents are always nagging him. His parents are always ready to help, ready to transport kids, do this, to do that. The other 2 guys most likely are gonna kick rocks, if we're honest about it, right? And then there's a second layer to it where, because they inform I told her about a story where I missed going to I think it was the under 16 week, under 16, yeah, under 16 week. I missed that. And then I somehow, because I was practicing with the academy in the off season, they needed some of their players with the under 17 team. Some of the players aged out, so they needed a batsman to come in and substitute. And the guy saw me at one of the academy practices and said, "Hey, listen, wait for a call. You might get a call to join the under 17s to go to the under 17 week, right?" And then I realized that year, at the high school where I was, we had an inexperienced coach. They hired some guy. We don't know who he was really. Hired some guy. He's not in the system. Doesn't really know much. He may have gotten an email or not even gotten an email. And because I didn't go to a prominent school, he didn't call anybody to go to the trials. So obviously, then I don't go to trials. The next year, when I'm 17, basically going for trials for under 17 again, and eventually made that side, I asked the guys that went to the under 16 tournament, and I was like, "Hey, Oaks, what happened last year?" They're like, "Where were you, bud? We went to under 16 tour. We were wondering why you never came to trials." And I realized that there's a loophole there. There's a loophole in that the unions may not be informing the schools, but informing the coaches directly. And if they are pre-selecting which schools get to come to trials, it means that if you're a really talented kid out of Mamelodi, for instance, or Mawapan, right? But you don't go to a prominent school that usually gets selected. You play for a club and you're doing really well at that club. You might actually get left out of the loop for those trials because you're not one of the pre-selected schools that they expect good players to come out of.
That's interesting because, I was, as you were talking, I was like, I was identifying the same thing, that it's not necessarily the coaches, because the coaches, if he has 6, usually he can negotiate to send all 6.
Yeah,
The
if they're
problem
really
comes
good.
in. Yeah, I think the problem comes in, like you say, it's the fact that there are certain schools that never get a call, that never even get the opportunity to choose for kids that can play.
Yeah.
And then the question is, do they send this to every school that plays cricket, or do they send this to every school they regard as a good cricketing school?
Nail on the head, bro. Nail on the
Because there's
head.
a lot of school. I personally, I haven't seen. I don't think that every school that plays cricket at some level gets an invite to trials. Because I personally have never seen Township township schools represented at cricket trials.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. And I always wondered why, right? As a kid, you always wonder why though? Why
Yeah.
even in our leagues, even in like the school district league, we barely had actually don't remember ever playing one of the schools in the township. We always played Bersa and Rustenburg High and you know, all these
Yeah.
schools, Selly Park, but we never actually played um, any of the township schools. And they had cricket. It's not like they don't have cricket. They may not have the facilities, but I think they may be um, cherry picking teams to what create a strong league. Because I know in Northwest they have a super league, right? Where
Yeah.
Rustenburg High plays Klerksdorp High and Potchefstroom and that kind of thing. And then from there, that's like the pool in which they pick kids from in
Yeah.
every district.
And I mean, it's not necessarily to criticize them too much, because we also know that cricket is not a win by chance game.
Yeah.
If a team's not at a certain level, they will never beat a team that is at a certain level.
Yeah.
Especially over the 50 over format of the game.
Yeah.
So it's tough to say that you should include them when, like we say, if players aren't playing the best players available, can you really say that player is it? And this is an open question to say: is it worth even inviting somebody who's never even who doesn't play on this level?
Mm.
Because
Because you could get
even if I
hurt.
see potential at trials, I have nothing. I have nothing that tells me that this translates on the pitch.
Yeah.
Because this guy plays for instance, Ikache. And at the end of the day, when we're talking provincial, we're looking for the cream of the crop. We're not looking for developmental players.
Yeah.
And so is the question then, do we go back to like the model that we spoke about a couple episodes back to say, should there be a more concise effort to create a team of the best individuals out of these township schools, so that these kids, because out of every township school, there's probably maybe one guy who can play really, really well.
Yeah.
And he's part of an academy.
Yeah.
Or one or two guys. Should there be a more consensus side to say, do we build a team out of all these guys and let those guys compete at premium level, so that when they go to trials, they've got something to back themselves? Because also you have to remember that as teammates, you judge based on the fact that you played against somebody.
Yeah.
If I've never played against you and I play Premium League, it means already I don't respect you as a player.
Yeah.
Whether you're black, white, or whatever. If I've never seen you in the circuit, you're not on my level.
Yeah, and that's a
And
competitive
now,
thing. It's got nothing to do with race or any. That's just competition. If I'm playing with the best,
exactly,
I need to see you there, and then we can begin to have a conversation.
exactly. And then there's also the other side to say, I have a mate that I play with who I feel is better than you.
Yeah.
And there are guys that are left out. There's only a finite amount of positions there.
Yeah.
So everybody's scrapping for a spot.
Yeah.
Everybody's
true.
scrapping for a spot.
I remember. I mean, I remember there was one time where it was early in when the quota system was instituted, right? And I think we were probably 13 years old or something at the time, and we were missing. I think they needed one more color player to go to the Northwest trial. So in the district, we're missing one more color player, and I don't even remember where they found the kid, and he came through, and they brought him on as a batsman, and it was brutal, man. Like I mean, it's most if you've been in the circuit for a few years, even at 13, you've been in the circuit for about 4 years, right? Um, and 3 or 4 years, and you generally sort of know each other. There's also everybody's more or less playing on the same level, and you see this kid that gets thrown into the deep end. Obviously, we're both players of color. You put your arm around him. Hey, Joe, this is how things work. We're gonna do this. The format looks like this. We're gonna play on day 1, 2, 3. Then on day 3, they put together two of the strongest sides from each, from each district, and then they play those two teams together. And then from those two teams, they pick the final sort of Northwest squad. And the kid was like, oh, okay, cool. He went through. He was nervous. You could tell because he's been selected, and this is the first time he's coming through. I mean, imagine your first trials being under 13, right? Um, Provincial trials.
Yeah.
You haven't come across these guys anywhere. You get
Bear in
there
mind, these guys have been playing since under 10 together.
under 10 together, like generally just know each other like that. You get there and it was brutal, man. You could see like the pace was just too quick. He didn't practice at that level. And I think by the end of the week, you could tell that his confidence was shot, man. When it's like you finally get exposed and and the next level of what competition actually looks like. But you weren't prepped. You weren't no one took you bowling machine, just took the pace up a little bit just to get you used to the pace of the ball. No one, like it was really bad. So sometimes I do think to myself, the system that you spoke about where 2 or 3 players get picked out of the township schools, they form a team and then they join the Super League with some of the biggest schools and get exposed to that level of cricket. Also build their own respect amongst their peers in the sport might actually be a better way than what has traditionally been done, where if you need a player, you go quickly scramble and pick one out from nowhere, basically, and just throw that kid in the deep end. It absolutely destroyed. I never saw that kid again. Never. I saw him under 13. That was the first time. We played sort of local leagues, bit of the Super League. Never saw him there again. Never saw him at trials. You can imagine he probably went home and was like, "I'm, I'm not ready for that.
This is my game.
This is not my game. I'd rather go play soccer or whatever, you know."
Yeah, that's very true, man. I'll tell you something. I think it was under 17.
Yeah.
Similar thing happened, right? Guy gets picked up. He was from Freiburg.
Yeah.
Freiburg, never been in the system. Nobody knew him. Bear in mind, we're close to Coke Week.
Yeah.
This is under 17, right?
Yeah. You're 2 years away.
Yeah, no, it's crunch time, right?
Mm.
So, and like you say, man, there were so many things that made that kid seem like a fish out of water.
Mm.
And as we were older, like under 13, you're still young. But at under 17, we all know each other.
Yeah.
We all know whose strengths, weaknesses, who do you back when the chips are down, who's our guy that, pulls through. Everybody has a role. And so one thing you realize is that there is between that camaraderie comes a certain level of expectation.
Mm.
And there's also a certain level of grace that is afforded to guys whom we knew their skills.
Yeah.
So because we know you're an opening batsman, you're our guy, we know you go out for a duck. We don't say you suck.
Yeah.
Because we've seen you score 100. But with this guy, he was brought in as an opening batsman, by the way.
Oof.
He was brought in as an opener. Tough. That's tough. And so he wasn't getting off. He just couldn't. You know when a guy just can't. It's just not his level. Like you say, it was just not his level. I think the guy never made anything in the double digits the entire time he played. Here's where it got really rough now, right?
Yeah.
And it became now a run, because here's the thing, right? Kids are mean.
Yeah.
As in high, like you don't have that adult filter just to acknowledge that, okay, wait, it's that pack mentality as well, to say we're all on the same page. This guy's dropping, this guy's costing us, right? And it also gives guys an easy scapegoat.
Yeah.
So what happened was you realize that it's not just the team itself that recognizes that, coaches recognize that. And so what happened was this kid gets to tournament. He played one game the entire tournament.
Wow.
The rest of the time he was 12th man.
Wow. So they gave him the mandatory one game that you have to play. Wow.
Yeah, and that was a T20 game. He played one game. It got so bad that we called him Mr. Bib. He was the bib guy. Everybody, like like it was so bad that, when they do in the morning when we're announcing who's playing today.
Yeah.
Right? Guys would give him the bib before the team meeting.
Oh, that kills confidence, bro.
Brother, bad. I never saw that guy again. I never saw that guy. But it also made me, like, I was just like, now when you, as an adult, I'm reflecting on this. I'm like, that must have been horrible for that young man. To be at a tournament where you think you're good enough but you're actually just a laughing stock of the team.
Yeah.
To the point where, it's one thing where guys are talking behind your back. It's another where everyone goes, Mr. Bib, grab your bib already. Where's your bib?
To your face, bro. Because boys are, especially, people think kids in general are mean in school and that kind of thing. But wait till you take sort of the cream of the crop, you put them in a space, and then you say, okay, these are the best players in the province right now. That pack mentality where the weakest one gets thin out of the herd happens very quickly, dude. That hierarchy establishes itself like this.
Yeah, very quickly. And if you're at the bottom of that food chain, you don't have a leg to stand on, because, again, like you said, you're not dealing with just kids.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the best athletes in the area. And naturally, as a good athlete, there's an ego that comes with being a talented athlete. You now know that I'm one of the best guys here.
Yeah.
And now you're looking around and it's also that bit of resentment, right? Because for every player that was chosen, there's a buddy that wasn't.
Yeah.
There's another guy that wasn't, that we left behind, and we're all just like, it's as if we had the vet here.
Yeah.
We had Tabo here right now, he'd be killing. If Lopes was opening. And that's really where that disregard for his emotions come in. Because it's just like, you know what, mate? There's a guy right now, he's sitting in Potchefstroom, he's sitting in Rustenburg, and he could be here. And that guy's bad.
Yeah. He's sitting at home right now. Yeah.
Here you are. And because of that, I felt sorry for him, because we all felt that he shouldn't be playing. And so it wasn't like, oh no, why is this guy getting the bib? It's like, oh, thank goodness this guy's not playing. Because you're also it's
that's across the board, right? That's across the color line too.
Yeah, we all banded together, because regardless of the race, it was who in the team is going to be disrespected enough to be replaced by this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because for him to play, it means somebody else is 12th man.
Yeah.
Right? And if somebody else is 12th man and this guy doesn't come off, we say, oh, fuck, if Lopes was just batting today. There's Lopes on the bench right there. Right? And we had warm-up games. This guy didn't work. He didn't work for us in the warm-up games. And eventually he just became the team mascot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough, man. That kills a player.
Eventually, you just end up being a team, man. Yeah, dude, we never saw that guy. He didn't even come to trials the next year.
Yeah, and that's rare when you actually made the provincial side the year before.
Yeah. And now it's Coke Week and you don't show up for trials. It's the biggest tournament.
Yeah.
This is the one. This is your last shot. And he was probably so demoralized that he just never went back again. Because he was just like, dude, it gets bad, man. Like nobody acknowledged that kid. And that really is the key problem with sending these township boys that aren't ready for that prime time. Is that we may think we're doing them a favor, but really the reality is if you're not qualified to be where you are, it's not a nice place to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
No matter what it is in life, right? And this just goes across life in general, that you always see that the guys who aren't qualified to be at a space just they never become comfortable in that space. They never accept it. People know when you don't belong. People know when you're not good enough.
You get exposed quickly, eh?
Yeah. And we'll give you grace, right? So what's interesting is that it wasn't as if from day one he was treated like that. It was after a couple warm-up games where duck, and it's like, whoa,
hang on,
what's going on here?
Yeah, you have to score at least once in those 3 games. But...
Exactly, and it's also the way in which you go out, which is a big thing in cricket, right? We can tell a lot about the caliber of a player by the way he goes out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, it's a tough line to draw because you don't just. It's unlike soccer or anything else. You can't hide in cricket. At some point, you gotta grab the ball and bowl, and every other guy is looking at you now, right? At some point, you gotta have the bat in your hand, and everybody's sitting on the sidelines watching you bat.
Yeah, analyzing
We're
everything.
all looking at you. Yeah. And we're all going, yes, this is a boy can bat. Sure. Hey. And at that moment, when you're an opening batsman, that's a huge responsibility. You set the tone. So it was like every time we were starting off on the back foot because of this guy. Our number 3 had to become our opener.
Yeah, and that's tough, eh? That is nasty, man. That puts everybody on the back foot. That means everybody's essentially just waiting for him to go out so that the number 3 can go in and bat.
Yeah. So number 3 is already padding up when these guys go out because we know already. Number 3 and 4 are already up there.
Yeah.
And to be honest, man, he looked like a tail ender facing these boys. Because these provincial bowlers are no joke.
Yeah, I know they got gas, but they got gas.
These provincial bowlers are no joke. So you could, and as good cricketers can spot average cricketers.
Very good.
But average cricketers just won't understand what the good cricketers are talking about. It's technique, it's the way you move, it's the confidence in which you play your strokes.
Yeah.
The way you look when you play that cover drive says a lot whether or not you're a number 8 or you're an opening batsman. So yeah, man, I think with regards to the Township boys, you can't just throw them into the deep end. You can't, but you have to figure out a way to include them. You can't just leave them out. That's not a solution to just say we're just not going to try and develop these guys. We're not going to include them. It's fine.
Yeah, you gotta find a format, man. There has to be a format because we know that there's talent there, and we know it because some of the kids that get scholarships to go to some of these more prominent schools come from townships, right? We've had a Makaya before. We know this. We've had Bonfunigon Gam. We know this, right? The guys are there. It's just that there needs to be a format and a structure that gives them a fair opportunity to earn their respect.
Yeah, it has to be earned. It cannot be given because it's gonna cripple him up front. He has to be afforded the opportunity to earn his peers' respect.
Yeah. Anyway, man, that's I think there's a lot. That's a lot said on that topic, because it was something that did strike me, and I thought we need to find a way to get this thing going. And yeah, I'm pondering on it to see what the Titans guys are doing with their development structures and the hubs they've got going, and how do they circle that back to the actual professional first class structures. How do those players filter into that structure, or is it just a showcase? So like a just sort of a cosmetic thing that they've got going. These kids are there, they play maybe 1 or 2 provincial tours, and none of them actually get an opportunity or get bumped up to the academy side and eventually sort of the first class franchise side. I'd like to chat a little bit about that. I'll see if I can get KG or one of the guys coming from one of these unions.
Yeah.
Let's quickly wrap up. I think we've got a few minutes left. Interesting game. Let's start with Sack's first team versus Bishop's. Sack's first team won the toss and decided to bat first. They scored 261 for 8 in their 50 overs, which is a decent total, I think, against Bishop's. Bishop's got bowled out for 145 in 39 overs. So they really got hammered. They lost by 116 runs, man. So it was a tough day out for Bishop's, man. Sacks just absolutely wiped the floor with them.
Yeah, I know. Bishop's got handed. But has Bishop's been playing, though? Have they been playing?
Not much.
It seems
I think
like
over
their
the
campaign this year has been a bit of a here and there, like 1 or 2 games, but they don't seem like the season is really, because obviously, like a lot of guys, it's also COVID dependent. So I think a lot of these teams aren't getting their full calendars.
They're not. They honestly haven't. They've stopped. It's been a stop-start. They also pushed up the matric exams. It's honestly, it's been a tough 2 years, I think, for schools and their sporting programs. Try to get these kids in the right frame of mind, in the right shape from a fitness perspective, I think has been difficult. And I also think that the juniors have had to step into the senior roles a little bit earlier than they would have intended to. What we're seeing now is essentially what the new crop of Sacks players, under 16 and under 17 boys, soon to be under 17 and under 18 next year, first team proper, are looking like in relation to, for instance, Bishop's. I think the Bishop's boys, it looks like they've got quite a bit to go. We had a 90 from a Michael Leavitt from Sacks, I think, who did relatively well, but the rest of the score was spread out across the rest of the team. So I think what we're seeing here is a glimpse around what the junior structures are up to. So under 14, 15, 16, 17, what those coaches have been doing to prep these players to be first team ready.
So really what we're getting is a good understanding of what the Groundsmen's first crop of players are going to look like.
Yeah.
Because we just got into the game, right? So the kids that are now in matric, they're not really on the Groundsmen's radar as much, because they're basically on their way out. So you're essentially, we're looking at the Gwena Mapakas of the game right now to say who in the high school space is the next big team.
Yes, basically the Josh Elliott's of this world. We're trying to find out who those are, and we're getting a first glimpse of that. So this defeat, I think, from Bishop sends a very strong message that you need to up your game. You need to get some strength and conditioning. You need to sort of get the mental strength going, because clearly some of these other kids in these schools have been prepped a little bit better than others. Because losing a game like this by 116 runs just says you weren't ready. It basically just says you're just not ready. Those boys may not be ready right now to make the step up. But I know that a lot of the coaches are doing a lot of work now to get these boys to understand the level of cricket, what a jump it is from under 17 to under 16 through to the first team, what that jump actually looks like in reality. And they try and at least get them ready by Jan.
Yeah, and I think it's a time now where, like you say, because it's not the key players and leaving, other teams are now looking at, okay, who are the guys to look out for? Now everybody knows, okay, Sachs is going to be dangerous.
Yeah.
Sachs is going to be dangerous next year. In a year or two, they are a team to look out for.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these guys are also trying to set the tone.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely trying to set the tone, man. It's quite clear now who the kids coming straight out the gate that are strong are, right? You for instance, if we move to the K.E.S versus St Stithians game, you can see these guys have been doing some work. K.E.S won the toss and decided they're going to bat first. They scored 206 for 9, which is decent considering the strength of that St Stithians bowling lineup, right? St Stithians bowled out for 174 in 44 overs. So essentially, K.E.S won that game by 32 runs. Mind you, Kwena was there, Pela Malega was there, Ruben du Toit was there, Richard Selatwane was there, for St Stithians. So the regular names that we know that essentially hammered that Poch Remy side and essentially been wiping the floors with everyone else they were there. It's not like it wasn't a full strength squad. So K.E.S obviously have been sort of sitting on some dynamite players like David Teague, who scored 98. And essentially it just seems like they just struggled to get rid of Teague, man. He scored 98. The two opening pair, Kyle Boats and Jordan Smith, Jordan went out for a duck. Kyle went out for 1. Dean Bacher came in and scored 16. And then David Teague came in and scored his 98. Ethan Perry came in and scored 28. And in at 8, we had Liam Alder, who scored 27. So the bulk of the runs was scored by sort of this middle order, with David Teague leading the charge with 98. And you could see with St Stithians where we'd expect, the usual, Ruben du Toit, Josh Elliott. He wasn't there in this game. So they replaced him with Tebe Gazide, who's starting to become a regular, I think, for St Stithians. He scored 40. Ruben du Toit didn't come off. He scored 17. Richard Selatwane, ever reliable, scored 34, but I think he could have gotten better considering that he got in. He actually got in, and they really could have chased this down. So I think kudos to K.E.S that did exceptionally well, and did well. I mean, David Teague that we're talking about now, that scored the 98, also took 3 wickets at an economy of 3 and over. So yeah, man, there's some really good talent out there, and I think we're getting a good glimpse at who to really look out for going into the new year.
Yeah, it sounds as if that game is what number 1 and number 2 look like.
Yeah.
That if you're not at full strength, you're gonna lose to the other guy.
Yeah.
If you're not on your game that day, you're gonna, because they're so evenly matched.
Yeah.
So Yeah, what were the final scores?
Final
In total.
scores: K.E.S 206 for 9 in their 50 overs. They batted their full 50. St Stithians 174 all out in 44.3.
Yeah, I see. That's a close game. The fact that
Yeah,
K.E.S couldn't hit that 250, 280 mark
yeah,
means that that bowling team at St Stithians did a good job, though.
yeah. The
Full
bowlers
credit to
definitely
that.
came to the game, man. Gwena took all these 10 overs, took 3 for 34, economy of 3.4.
That boy is such a good bowler.
Yes,
Like
bruh.
his
So
numbers are
consistent.
just like his numbers are just. I don't, and he's playing the number one team in the
Yeah,
country.
yeah. No, K.E.S, it's Rondo Bosch Boys is the number one. I think
Oh
K.E.S
yes,
is third. Yeah, I think K.E.S is third.
yeah. So it's number 2 and 3. Yeah, it's number 2 and 3 play.
Yeah, yeah. So it's yeah, dude. I think the kid is fantastic. I watched him with the SA under 19s as well. Um, playing against what is it? They're playing against I think was it Border? It wasn't Border guy. I'll remember.
Boraka is still around.
Border is still around, bro. Um, but
My
I can't
bad,
remember
Boraka.
who did these guys who did they play? I'll try and remember the name. The
Wasn't it
team.
that developed like SA?
No, it's not.
SA.
It wasn't that. It wasn't
Oh,
those guys. Um, just give me a sec. Uh, let's see. I'll tell you now because they
but yeah,
played
that
them.
boy.
Come again?
Why you didn't? The boy's stats are caned.
Yeah, yeah. Every game,
I'm
man.
yet to,
Consistent.
dude. I'm yet to hear a game like where he's just had a bad outing, where he went for like 60 odd, 70 odd, didn't
Yeah,
pick up any wickets, with an economy rate of like 7.8 or something like that per
yeah,
over. The
yeah.
boy's always going at around 3.5, 4.5.
Yep. Taking at least 2, 3 sticks, man. 2, 3 sticks, 5 as fours. 2, 3 sticks, 5 as fours. He's really been good, bro. Like it's like a genuine a
In terms of
genuinely good
stats,
player.
I think he might be the best high school bowler right
I think so. I think so. I'd have to go through the stats and really have a look. But um, from the games we've seen against the national, the academy, they played against what do you call it? Played against the Northern Cape lately, and he did well there as well. So I think there's proper talent there, man. He's definitely something we're watching, and I'm glad at least he's in the what do you call him? He's in the system, you know. So yeah, I think he's done well. That was a good game. I think congratulations to K.E.S. I think a fantastic game. The K.E.S are absolute monsters, man. I think it takes a lot to beat them. Clearly,
now.
St Stithians are also quite a beast. We've seen them absolutely wipe the floor with a lot of teams that came on. So I think this was a fantastic game. If you want to catch the game
I
and
think
just
St.
watch some
Stithians will want
highlights,
that rematch.
oh, of
They'll
course,
be talking about that rematch because it sounds like it was a close game. On
definitely.
another day, St. Stithians could have beat them. I don't think it's as definitive.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. I think there are probably some circumstances that maybe the guys' heads weren't in the game or whatever. Because I think this game, Gwena as well had just come from those SA under 19 games as well.
Mm.
And some of the other players, they're also sort of in the middle of exams and stuff. So fair enough, it's probably the same on both sides. But I definitely think St. Stithians will want a rematch here. Last game.
definitely. And where can people catch the highlights again?
Yeah, if you wanna catch highlights, catch it on Pitch Vision. They've got an app, they've got a web browser as well, a website that you guys can go, pitchvision.com. They've also got it on YouTube. You can watch some games whenever they shoot in the live games. You can watch the live games on Pitch Vision as well. If you're too busy, like a lot of people, you can always catch the Groundsmen. We'll always review the games and let you know what happened over the weekend, who did well, who didn't. But thanks to Pitch Vision, I think they're doing a fantastic job in bringing the game to a lot of people and to the rest of us who don't always have the ability all the time to fly down to Cape Town and to KZN and all over the country to watch these boys play. So if you're a school and you can sort of afford the equipment or whatever to live stream your games, do that, get on our radar. On the other hand, schools do also use web sports to record their stats. So instead of using the traditional scorebook, they use the app, the web sports app, and then they upload it. We'll also have a look there to find out what the guys are doing and who's doing what. So I think there are plenty of opportunities and applications where schools can use to give their kids exposure.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a great resource, man. You really get to go see what these boys really look like, the guys we're actually talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, if you're looking to see the Ruben de Toys of the world, if you're looking to see Gwenama Park actually bowl and make your own assessments of, does this kid really have it? I think, go check them out and we'd love to hear feedback as well as what you guys think about these boys.
Definitely leave us a comment, drop us a DM. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the players we've reviewed so far. And I think the last game we had Wynberg boys versus Rondebosch. Wynberg boys won the toss and decided to bat first. They were bowled out for 153 and 47.2 overs. Rondebosch came through, chased it down in 26 overs, losing only 1 wicket, so they won by nine wickets. So I think Rondebosch, they're number one. They made quick work of Wynberg. And mind you, Wynberg is not it's not a small school there. So I think it's this definitive victory from Rondebosch just purely speaks to, I think, the strength of that Rondebosch side. So obviously nothing really to write home about. It was a low score. They were chasing a low total. Essentially Rondebosch chased it down with the first 3 batsmen. We had Ethan Cunningham, who scored 26 and 17 at a strike rate of 152. We had Mahir Joseph, who scored 81 not out in 77 balls at a strike rate of 105. And then we had Fayyad Daniels at scoring 41 not out in 66 balls at a strike rate of 62. So top 3 guys did it. Sort of a walk in the park there. Congratulations to Mahir Josephs, Ethan Cunningham, and Fayyad Daniels on chasing down that score. Fantastic, fellas.
Yeah, I think there is something to take away from this game, though, which is that, when you have to look at, when you say a team is number one, it's easy to do one half of the game right, especially in a cricket game. It's easy to get one half of the game right. You do well, and oftentimes you see it, right? You see a guy get bowled out for a team get bowled out for 150, but then oftentimes teams let it slide. All right, the teams that aren't like dominant number one teams won't, like we always say, Australia will punish you.
Yeah, you give them a an edge. They'll
You
punish.
give them an edge or punish. And this is a lesson to teams out there, is that don't get complacent because you got the first half right.
Yeah.
Don't think you've won it because you've got the first half right, because that's what a lot of teams miss is, oh, we bowled them out for 150. Okay, cool. Easy work for the opens. And what happens? We know that in cricket, all you need is 2 or 3 quick wickets.
Yeah.
2 or 3 quick wickets, and we're having a different conversation no matter what the total is.
Game on,
so,
bud.
Yeah. Full credit to Rondo Bosch for putting it down.
Yeah.
For putting it down, not letting their foot off the Tiger's neck.
Yeah.
Because we know Windberg boys can play.
Yeah. You give them a
we
sniff.
know they can play.
You give them a sniff. They'll come at you.
Exactly. Full credit to guys like Ethan Cunningham who do the job regardless of the total. Because that boy's been doing his job.
Oh yeah, no man, he's a regular, and he got run out, so it's not like he
chucked it.
He chucked it or whatever. Yeah. He got run out and he was going. He's 26 of 17. So fantastic, man. I think great games this weekend. Fantastic. I think we've had a lot to talk about today, man. There's really quite a bit to take out of it. Please let us know if you guys have an opportunity to watch some of the players we've spoken about on Pitch Vision. Let us know your thoughts, what you think about them. Again, an opportunity, I think, for the system to change. We've suggested a few things where some of the township schools and the kids that are coming out, they can have an opportunity to earn their respect in the game and from their peers as well, and really not be thrown into the deep end, essentially left to fail, which is inevitably what happens, and quit and leave the game. So yeah, T, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think that this week was a good week to see the big boys play each other. And I think that there's always lessons to take away from watching the best teams play.
Yeah.
And it's the small things, right? It's the small adaptations that they make. And I'd really advise players that are listening and players that are out there to go watch these top teams. Study guys like Ethan Cunningham. Study guys like Gwen Amapak. Start seeing look at what the top performers in the country are doing, and perhaps start to incorporate some of those, not necessarily their gifts, because you can't really emulate them, but I think what players can do. Yeah, exactly. Guys can start looking at the habits. What are these boys doing? Because the footage is there. The days of us having to wonder, oh, how does this guy do, or where's this guy coming from? You shouldn't be surprised by any player by the time you get to trials.
Yeah.
You should know, oh, wait, that's Ethan Cunningham. I've seen tape on him. Oh, that's this guy. We need to start getting into the culture of studying tape in South Africa.
Yeah. Agreed.
And
100%.
Yeah, man, that's my big takeaway from this, is that the one thing I'm realizing is that we need to start being better at watching game tape. And I think that that's going to improve the overall game of everybody, because now, like, Ethan Cunningham shouldn't be consistently scoring without guys studying him and guys looking at, oh, what's he doing here? Guys should be studying Gwena's action. Like, we should start doing this earlier, because that's what makes a Gwena become better. These guys are catching on. So, yeah, man, I think to my closing thoughts is just, let's start reviewing game tape, guys. Coaches, start sending these boys some game footage. Let them watch game footage as part of their assignments.
Yeah.
Make it part of a thing. It's not just a suggestion to go check out. No, give them a curriculum based on, these are the tapes you have to go study. This week, you guys have to watch X amount of videos. Have you guys watched last weekend's games? Things like that.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. I think that can only improve the game. It can only raise the players' um, skills to take it to the next level a lot quicker than maybe it would have been done before. So, absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me, T. Thank you for the viewers for joining us. It's really been a fantastic 11 episodes that we've had with you guys. We're dedicated to doing much more. We talk everything that has to do with school cricket, what they're doing, what the boys are doing, how they're doing it, how do we improve the game, and how do we make it accessible and profitable. I think for all the players and agencies involved in looking to really take the game to the next level in South Africa. So thank you so much for joining us, guys. We really appreciate you. From the Groundsmen. See you next week.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Groundsmen. Stithians, man. That top order just demolished him. So normally what that structure looks like is that and honestly that's part of why the groundsmen are here as well, so that you don't have to wait for Coke Week in order to see who's who and what's what.